Okay, good evening, good afternoon, good morning to all of you from wherever you're joining. So I'm Aditya Rodriguez from Bangladesh. I will be your moderator for today's webinar. So today in this webinar with the theme of digital innovation and technology for gender equality, we are thrilled to have you all here today to explore the exciting ways in which technology can be harnessed to promote gender equality. Our panel of experts will be sharing their insights and experiences on this topic, and we hope that you will find this webinar informative and thought-provoking. So from this webinar, our objective is to promote and encourage inclusivity and gender equality in the digital world, to spotlight the importance of protecting the rights of women and girls in the digital space, to encourage and inspire more young people to take part in the promotion of gender equality and in the protection of girls and women's rights. So let's not wait anymore. And now I would like to request Ms. Angi Widow to give her welcome speech for all of us here today on behalf of the Women Empowerment and Gender Equality Commission of Pax Romana IMCS Asia Pacific.
Okay, thank you, Aditya, for the chance to me. So welcome everyone to the webinar on International Women's Day 2023. So I'm Anggi, member of Women Empowerment and Gender Equity Commission of Asia Pacific. Behalf of the team, we welcome and thank you for all the participants to join this session. And also we wish all of us a happy International Women's Day. Our topic today is the theme for the International Women's Day 2023. That is DigitALL, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. We will listen and discuss with experienced speakers about the need for inclusive and transformative technology and also digital education. Thank you for our speaker, Ms. Regine Guevara, Committee for Asian Youth Cooperation through the TGF Foundation and also producer Asia TV Philippines. Ms. Elizabeth Gamarra, Ministry of Education, Culture, Sport, Science and Technology, Philo Japan, and also our beloved friends from member Pax Romana Juris Commission and also member of ICAF, Ms. Annika Anna. So thank you to be with us for this webinar. Last, I wish all the best for the participant. Please use this chance as much as you can so later we also can do better for our communities, for our students, and also for the brighter future. Together, achieving the gender equality. Happy International Women's Day. Thank you. I over back to the moderator, Mr. Aditya.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Angi, for your valuable words and the valuable welcome speech. So before we move on to the main part of today's webinar, I would love to give some small basic instructions to all the participants here. So some instructions that I have for you guys are that we will keep ourselves muted, but until or unless we have any queries or questions. If we have any questions, then we will use the raise hand option below, and then we will get the chance for our queries. Besides this, I would love to say also that we have a Q&A session at the end of the session today. So you will get the chance to say your questions out there for our speakers. So if you have any questions, please try to take a note. And when I give the chance for a Q&A session, you can raise your questions to the speakers. So lastly, it would be very great if we can turn on our cameras so that we can have a both-way interaction. So if it is possible, I would like to request to all of you to turn on your camera. So thank you. These are some basic instructions for the webinar. I would love to see you guys today with the cameras in the face so that we can have a both-way interaction. Okay, so maybe now we will move on to the main part of today's session, today's webinar. So firstly, I would like to request our first speaker, who is a former two-time TEDx speaker, Fulbrighter at IE University, Rotary Peace Fellow, McKenna Fellow, and upcoming USA Peace Building and Reconciliation Delegate to the G20's Youth Summit. Currently, she is a Japanese government MEXT graduate doctoral fellow and researcher at the Peace Research Institute at International Christian University. I'm welcoming Miss Elizabeth Gamarra for her valuable sharing on the challenges girls and women face in the digital world. The session is all yours.
Thank you very much. I think I might have been maybe second on the list. That's what I've been told, but if it's changed, I can do now. Berta, do I go first?
Yes, Miss. For now, the first speaker is not here, so if it's
Okay,
possible,
no,
you
great.
can go first.
Yes, okay.
I'm
All
sorry
right.
for this
No,
inconvenience.
no, it's okay. And maybe as the time comes close and I need to stop up, please let me know. But it is such an honor to be here with all of you. Today I was thinking a lot about the event and what I wanted to share with you. And so I wanted to start off to tell you a little bit about my experience working with young girls and women within the digital arena. And then I wanted to move down to maybe the things we could all be doing, and end with maybe a call to action and resources that you could utilize for this. So I think my background has been already said. I've been working with young girls and women in mostly three areas. First, when I was in high school, and beginning university with the organization Una Mano Amiga, and now with the Latin Women United through the Generations of Legacies, which is a nonprofit in the US, to bring women together, specifically from immigrant backgrounds, and for them to pursue their education. A lot of women have a lot of great potential and really great credentials behind their back, but when they come to America, it is a different system. So that is one of the aspects I've worked on. The other one is 2 years ago, I worked with the OECD Nuclear Energy Agency, and we were promoting more young girls to go into the nuclear field because there is a lack of women interested in that field. So we did workshops in different parts of the world for young girls to consider a STEM field, and those were really, really inspiring. And most recently, I think I've worked on a project within Kenya, trying to get girls connected to creating their own avatars online, and then utilizing those so that they can gain women mentors throughout that process. And it was funded by the Citizenship Diplomacy Fund through the US government. And in that process, through these three settings, both back in the US, in Kenya, and in France, I have been very inspired by initiatives taken, so forth. And as I was thinking about today specifically, I think every day is Women's Day. I think March is one month where we get to exemplify that a little bit more. And in the beginning of March, actually, the UN Secretary General actually gave a speech on this very same topic, where he recognized the importance of a digital area where women and young girls are included. And I will put the link to his speech in the chat so you can read it whenever you have a chance. One moment, please. And it's very inspiring. So I wanted to build off of those points. But just really quickly, he talks about number one, action to close connectivity gap. Not everybody has access to the web and resources, and so especially in developing countries. And he talks about the importance of breaking that barrier for girls. And I think that's what we did with Kenya, specifically remote villages. The next thing he talks about is we need a women's leadership to advance change. So I think France is a good example of this, where people within the nuclear area were able to give advice and guidance to young girls who were potentially interested in that. And the last thing he talks about is that we must make the online safe for young women and girls. So online should not be for abuse or harassment. It should be used to or harm or silence people. It should be used to uplift people. So I think his 3 points are very inspiring and very important. And I think what I would add to this is my own personal experience of how to do this. Oftentimes there's a lot of discussions on we need more gender equality, we need more representation and voices, but how? And so I think as I was reflecting today, I think as I was writing, it must be very important to locate the female leaders within your own communities and make a small board of them. So for me, I grew up thankfully through this program in the US and in South America with women leaders who exemplify amazing qualities. And one of them is definitely my mother. She is not only kind, but very always engaging and open. So she creates if there is no solution, she makes one solution. And one of the things that she opened my eyes to was the fact that sometimes when we're in panels, people say, oh, there's not enough women to go to participate in these panels, for example. But there are websites, and I can share later, where a bunch of amazing women leaders are subscribed and open to speaking on these matters, and they're there. So there's no more of an excuse to say, oh, there's no woman who wants to talk about this topic. So that's one of the things I wanted to share, that make sure that those voices are included and propel them forward. And then the next thing I wanted to share as well was the fact that in this process, looking at mentorship from a different angle, when it talks about making community safe and important, I think having a guide and example is critical. And so when we think of mentorship, we think, okay, it's going to be somebody who I can ask for advice when I need help. But really, mentorship is much more bigger than that. And I have been reading an article, which I'll share later, on the kinds of mentors that exist. And I think if we have a woman or an advocate or a woman advocate in these 5 sectors, we will be better suited. The first one is somebody we ask for advice in general. Maybe we are struggling with what to do in our job or where to go in terms of school. And this person will give you what they think. And of course, you don't have to go with their opinion, but it's good to have somebody in the back that can kind of guide you within that is already in the system and move forward like that. The next kind of person is more of a coach. So an individual who doesn't necessarily give you an answer immediately, but kind of coaches you every now and then. And there's amazing programs online that have done that. Singapore, for example, has launched one of their mentorship programs, and it's free, completely free. And this would actually cost money. It costs money in many places, but here you can apply and you can get a mentor from a tech company, for example, and you can meet them every week or every other week. But coaches who are kind of helping you strengthen that personal area. Kind of the next one are more kind of role models. They don't necessarily need to give you advice all the time. And this could be somebody that you're reading from a book, or they don't necessarily need to be living, and they don't necessarily need to know you, but having those particular role models that you can look into, you can subscribe, you can see what they're up to. I subscribe to a lot of these platforms where I can engage within social media, where I can see their updates and things like this, and that are particularly very, very inspiring. And then the next one is mostly of a guide. So it kind of goes like this. I wanted to share those. And maybe as well, when I was in university, when I was in high school, I knew that I wanted to be able to impact this sector a little bit more. And so even though I majored, my major was social work, and then it was peace studies, and then it was international relations. At the very beginning, I struggled a lot with saying, okay, how can I contribute, and what are the skills that I can gain so that I can help build these better systems. And in that process, I was able to see kind of that little different, like little changes make a big difference. For example, I was working on a project back in university, and again, back in another work setting where we were promoting more women to go into a STEM field. And it was very surprising to see that little wording matters. For example, if you put a job posting for maybe it says 5 years of experience, has a background in this field and must do X, Y, and Z. What a woman would say is, oh, 5 years of experience, but I have like 4.5, or I have maybe I need 3 more months until I get to that 5-year mark, and they wouldn't apply. And so they would hesitate and stop. Whereas a guy, I think, maybe I'm generalizing, we go, okay, it's kind of, I have 4, almost 5. It's the same thing, I will apply. And so I think the mentality is what it is, but I know that one thing that we worked on specifically was to change that. And so in companies wouldn't have to say 5 years of experience, but they would say like approximately 5 years of experience or up to 5 years of experience, and then you can justify the rest. And this subtle change made such a huge difference. We were discussing with different countries who wanted to promote that and create more of inclusive spaces, and they were like, what do I need to change? What should we do? Should we promote it more? Should we engage? Should we connect more with stakeholders? What should we do? And that was one particular kind of change that came from the discussions and the different bilateral meetings that we had with different countries. And it made a big difference. And so in this process, I said, okay, wow. So it doesn't necessarily need to be, we need to have more exposure. There's a saying, right? You can take a horse to near water, but you can't make it drink. But it could also be the importance of making these subtle changes. And this was just one example. There's many other examples that different countries have applied to attract more women in their respective fields. And so along those lines, two of the last things I wanted to share was the importance of also men in this progress. So because it is very much maybe women dominated, I believe that including men in whatever capacity is essential, so that we can build off of each other. I believe that some of the when I was in some groups on how to build inclusive spaces and maybe build technology, there was this gap, like, okay, should we include men because it's or not? And it was half divided that we should and half divided that we shouldn't. And I don't think there was a right answer. For me personally, I think we should definitely include men in the process, but doing it in our unique ways, the ways we see that they can reinforce, and people who are not just there, like just sitting there, but actually active and giving ideas and input. And I think that's incredibly important. And the last thing I wanted to share was that when we think of digitalization and technology, we maybe the first thing that comes to mind for me, it's always how to do this, right? And I think one of the most effective ways, and it might sound very, very basic, is starting a group chat and seeing whoever we were going to be serving and having a discussion with them in a group, one by one, seeing that what proposals or solutions come from that group. Because oftentimes you think, oh, I think I know what they need. Or what country's doing this amazing example, we're going to try to apply the same thing and it doesn't work, right? So from these kind of chats, and there are so many technological tools that can help us with this. It doesn't need to be a one-to-one connection all the time, and it could save us time. There's online drawing boards. There is now AI could do more in terms of that, and getting those opinions, and then really seeing, okay, what are the trends in these groups and what are the patterns of what these people are saying, and then kind of launching your first project. And there's a number of grants, and if you're interested, I can share these grant links that would fund this, because there's a big focus on this, considering this is an SDG, right? SDG number 5, and the world's and international organizations have a big interest in promoting this, where you can apply. You can say, okay, we're going to ask for $500, $4,000, $1,500. You could even get to $30K, and see and putting this project into action and making it a reality. And then from there, seeing, okay, what are the gaps and how can this project run without the funding, right? I think funding is important, but sometimes it becomes dependent on that. So what are ways that we can make this sustainable, and ways that this could uplift itself, where women are involved in the process in relation to men as well, and then how this can become something of a bigger project. So I think if I had to give a breakdown, that's kind of how I started 3 of the projects I mentioned at the beginning. Both in the US, it was mostly a group of 5 women who started it, and then it grew up to like thousands of wonderful women who were uplifting one another, and there was almost no funding there. But it became a very important program. Then the one in France, where this campaign became virtual because of COVID. So people did visit these particular countries to be able to do the workshops with young girls, but it was also partially online. And I was able to interview the woman within the nuclear field, and I can share the link later if you want, but the links are there with their wonderful, beautiful stories of how they seek and how they contribute to the world, and how that can and how they're there to help and support, and how you can reach out to them, and how they're available. And in Kenya, the most recent project that we did, I think that also started off with meeting somebody at a conference. We were at a summit at the time, virtually actually, and meeting them, talking to them, and then jumping on a WhatsApp group, exchanging ideas, deciding to meet on a time zone, and then just like brainstorming and seeing and getting this idea forward. And then thankfully getting the funding. So I wanted to share this with you, that this is such an incredible event, and a one that I'm very privileged to be part of, and wanted to share a little bit of my exposure, my stories, kind of the process behind how I approach things, and how I'm here to be of any support or help as well. And if you need any of the links or resources I just shared with you, please let me know, and I'll be sharing that with you. The last thing is there's a beautiful quote that says, people will not remember what you said and did, but people will remember how you made them feel. And I think that's a very beautiful quote that resembles how we can do so much and we can say so much, but at the end of the day, depending on how the energy that we bring to a project, the kind of the energy that we capitalize on when we are engaging with somebody or empower them even just a little, makes a big difference. And my mother is a big example of this, and that's how I want to end. I think that's something she teaches me a lot, and she is an advocate for so many communities, and somebody who I respect so much. And in this process has taught me that no matter the borders, no matter the different language barriers, no matter the different cultures that we may be in, if we have one particular goal, and that is women empowerment, we can do it, we can make it. And in this process we can find ourselves, and we can collaborate and be innovative. And the digitalization and technology is there to help our innovation. It's not there to stump it or stop it. It's there to facilitate things. And at the area we're living in now, it's more important than ever to be able to utilize these tools and maximize them to the fullest. So I wanted to share that. I can elaborate later if there's questions. But again, it's such an honor to be here, and I'm so happy we're celebrating the end of Women's Month, but I'm sure it's going to be the beginning of many, many more projects. Thank you.
Hello, sorry. Thank you very much, Miss Elizabeth, for your valuable words for us. And on this special occasion today, as you say, this may be the end of the March, but it's the beginning of a special occasion maybe. So now I would like to remind my audience and the participants that if we have any queries or questions, we can put them in the chat box, so that when we have a Q&A session, we can read it out and get answers from our speakers. So, okay, now let's move on to our next guest speaker. So now I would like to introduce our second speaker for today's webinar, who is a philanthropist, researcher, and practitioner for peace and security, especially as it concerns the Asian and Global South. Currently, she is CEO of SDG Realty Incorporated and producer of Asia TV Studios that curates sustainability content. She has worked as a communications consultant for the USAID, Asian Youth Volunteer Program, United Nations Women, United Nations Habitat, as well as UNESCO. She also served leadership roles in the UN Secretary General's High-Level Steering Committee on the UN Youth Strategy and Youth Interagency Network on Youth Development. I am really honored to welcome Ms. Regine Guevara for her sharing, to give a valuable sharing on the topic, living in the digital world, the opportunities waiting for everyone. The session is all yours.
Hi, hello, good evening, everyone from the Philippines. May I just confirm how many minutes do I have to talk? Or can I talk? How many minutes? I have 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Okay, never mind. I'll just keep on talking.
Yes, Miss. 15
Sorry,
no,
what's that?
20 minutes.
Okay, all right. So I was going to share my PowerPoint presentation, but I'm having difficulty connecting through my laptop. So maybe I'll just share a link later on so you could download the presentation yourselves. But please do follow us at Asia TV Studios on Facebook and Instagram. Like maybe you could scroll through your phones while I'm talking, so you have a better idea of what I'm discussing right now. First of all, thank you so much to the organizers for having me, and happy Women's Month to all of you. Hello to my fellow speakers. It's always I've been doing this because I'm already kind of like at the edge of my youth. So I've been doing Women's Month webinars for so long, like 10 years. But this is something that I like, especially this month is something that's very special to me, and this topic always excites me, especially recently, because there's something something new that you can always share, like every week, every month, every year, something always comes up. And then a lot of the new things that I can learn also from my fellow speakers, and then fellow um learners. So I hope like you can continue kind of making the a conversation interactive. So you have questions, just or comments, just put it on the chat box. I'll try to read them. All right. So I wanted to share more, like answer the topic, or like address the topic by sharing more about Asia TV Studios, which is a media enterprise that I co-founded with a lot of my other friends from the UN Major Group for Children and Youth, and also youth organizations, basically like this, like Friends for Leadership, SCG Corps, Asian Youth Council. And basically we launched this during the pandemic, while we were observing the different trends, like how we all kind of turned to our phones and laptops, and all schooling and meetings and even social events took place online. And this is exactly the topic that we're trying to address, right? Like the nexus of SDGs and gender equality with the digital, with innovation. So three things that we to cut to the chase, three things that we observed, or like three trends that we observed. First is what of course we know as the digital nomads. So the rise of the digital nomads. Like digital nomads, these people have existed even before the pandemic, like people who work from home, like freelancers who take their work with them while wherever they go. But of course, almost everybody became a digital nomad during the pandemic, with the availability of remote work and infrastructures, basically systems adjusted more to this tech space to accommodate people who need to log into the internet more, and also, well, more, what do you call this, more co-working spaces that are also health conscious, or like who that follow the health protocols. So there's this platform called nomadhood.co, which is a community-led platform for digital nomads, and it's basically trying to connect digital nomads in every city here in the Philippines, and hopefully in Asia, so that we can, I guess, like one of the challenges that we observe with digital nomads is even like just not even like just digital nomads, but like students who take their classes online. Like how do you continue to preserve the community while working and studying online? So the digital nomad community is now about like looking for ways to explore the hybrid events, like meeting and greeting people who work in the same space, and organizing not just meetups, but like art and community events from one city to another, encouraging even more digital nomads to move from one place to another. There are already discussions around digital nomad special visas in Indonesia and Thailand, and it's something that we're proposing here in the Philippines. So that's one, like digital nomads. The second trend that we observe is creative industries. So the pandemic was a really prime time, for better or for worse, for the art industry to flourish because, well, a lot of, first of all, like artists had no choice, like they really had to innovate um to make it to survive, you know, during the pandemic, like everybody does, but also kind of also brought the artist in everybody, like when we were kind of confined in our comfort of our own spaces in our own homes. um and like I guess like that's what challenges, you know, prompt humanity and civilizations, right? Like scientifically we evolve every time we're challenged, or every time our civilization has like a shared problem, right? So in one of the things is in the creative industries, there were so many new platforms that came about to preserve culture, to be creative. Like maybe one that I can cite is just the observing the shift from Web 1, which is of course mainstream media, mainstream event organizing. You know, we talk about art, we talk about galleries, we talk about TV coverage, print magazines, right? Then we're shifting to a Web 2, which is social media, and we see the rise of the influencers and the digital artists. There were so many also digital exhibits like virtual tours during the pandemic. But the third one that I wanted to dive a little bit deeper is Web3, which is um, also carrying towards the metaverse, and how um, well, also for better for worse, like it goes up and down, like how NFT artists and entrepreneurs in the crypto space kind of turned to, or like increased, and also like increased their advocacy at least, or their presence during the pandemic, because well they're exactly here, like they're already in the online space, and people kind of understood better what what NFTs are, and what art in the crypto world means. And of course, you know, there have been many challenges that were also addressed during the pandemic, like for example, um, the environmental costs of the Ethereum blockchain currency. This was addressed during the pandemic, and then um, well, of course, there were also some problems related to regulation and fraud, but these are things that, you know, like I said, like go up and down. And now we also see hybrid again, like I was talking about a while ago, digital nomads creating hybrid events. Now artists creating phygitals, so hybrid of a physical and digital art, where digital art, especially NFTs, are turned to physical paintings. So you have, you know, our creative director Sander Pratt was called the digital curator in Malaysia. So he turned Asian NFTs art into a mural at the International Youth Center to kind of it was like an art piece that was like a combination of the different cultures in Asia and Africa. And then uh, it's also, you also see the trend in dance, in song, in film, like in many different forms of art, and how we're innovating what physical and digital art means. And you know, like throughout these spaces, like from digital nomads to creative industries like digital artists, there are always like points of intersection and what we call like nexus spaces for the SDGs, and for women in particular to be leaders in the field. There's a whole rising community called Women in the Blockchain Space, because obviously, you know, NFT and crypto was predominantly led by men, and now there are like the ones that I mentioned just now, actually, Asian and then Women of Substance in the Philippines. These are women artists who are trying to make it to the space. And all the same with us, with Nomadhood in the digital nomad conversation. We need to see more women leaders who are not only seen as, you know, creative. Like sometimes when you talk about women, you're you know how society has like buckets of like where women or where Asians, which sectors they tend to go to. But we need to see more women in science and technology and creating infrastructures that address challenges that are surfacing out after the pandemic and also in this hybrid space. And leads us to the third point, which is after digital nomad creative industries, the third point will be social entrepreneurship and how all of these things kind of come together. Like, you know how in the SDGs, last SDG, SDG 17 is about partnerships, and it promotes partnerships, yeah, private public sector, but also the connectivity, like the interconnectivity of the SDGs with each other. And I think it's like best manifest really when not you just create a project, but you create a sustainable project, a sustainable enterprise, a social enterprise. And we already like kind of touched on a while ago, like in terms of tech and the creative sector, but even more like beyond that, food and farming, right? Like SDG 2. What else? Like we can talk about transportation and energy, like green energy. During the pandemic, one of the other trends in entrepreneurship led by young people that we observed were, you know, urban gardening, vertical farming. Everybody here in the Philippines kind of became what we called a plantita or plantito, like people who grew their own food at home, and the different technologies that people had to learn, such as like vertical farming and then hydroponics, aquaponics, and these like technologies, just like what I was saying a while ago with metaverse and remote working, also had challenges in them, and and another challenge, which is the pandemic, pushed people to find solutions. You know how there was a question about mineral distribution in aquaponics, food culture, and how now it's not just what do you call this it's not just a small sector of society that promotes it, but it's becoming more and more mainstream, like a lot of hotels in the hospitality industry, even okay, I just can't name a hotel but a main hotel in the Philippines has their whole kitchen run by hydroponics indoor garden. And then also the rise of electric vehicles and that's SDG 11 and SDG 7, you know, like urban and then green energy. Here in the Philippines, we're phasing out a really iconic transportation called the jeepneys, which is a four-wheel vehicle that's smaller than a bus. But an alternative proposal to that was, instead of phasing out this what they call is the dirt, because it runs on dirty fuel, then there's a counter proposal to put more budget in and transforming it into the electric vehicles, so electric jeepneys. And so these are some of the trends that we saw during the pandemic, and I guess like the trends are also opportunities to see how young people and women can take a lead in them, just like the previous two topics. Women in transport and women farmers, you know, are not always at the helm of the conversation. Like we're always somehow, like if we talk about gender minorities or even, you know, any kind of minority, there it's not automatic in society to keep a gender lens. But it's actually very important, because when you talk about women in transport, in the example that I just mentioned, there are specific needs, and there are a lot of research about the specific needs and also contributions that women, for example, drivers and women passengers experience in particular contexts, like in Asia. And And at the same time, like while we see these particular contexts, these are also particular opportunities for entrepreneurs again to try to come up with new platforms like new apps or online communities, hybrid events that bring people together and at the same time, rally or generate new resources for your own company, your own selves, but also in the service of society. And then, yeah, so those are the three trends that I wanted to share and that somehow also are the guiding kind of pillars of Asia TV, digital nomads, creative industries, and then social entrepreneurship. And just to maybe to be able to wrap up, like how we do it is we put forward what we're good at, like what we know. Usually they say there are three things that can guide young leaders. I think this was by a mentor in my school when I was in college. One is what you're good at. Two is what you love doing. And three is where you're needed. So like personally, I guess we also with the people here in the webinar to try to look at what are these three things for you, after everything I said. And that's where hopefully you can find your doorway or your window to so many opportunities out there where the world is our oyster, cliche as it may sound. And for us, it's been communications field and media because we were all like communication professionals in the UN. And after some of us are still working there, some are not. But we came together with the similar set of skills in different interests. Like I'm more interested in the tourism sector because that's where my business is. And we have people who are interested in the arts and, in so many other SDGs. And at the same time, we look for where we're needed, like the social problems and opportunities for innovation. And and that's how we were able to come up with Asia TV and produce videos and magazines, podcasts, like different media communication tools that promote on one hand, like all these trends and projects that are popping in the next generation, but at the same time kind of also induce new projects because whenever we create events or like produce materials, it like there's an intent to bring partners together and come up with something concrete. Like every time we have an episode, for example, in one island, in one city, we bring community together and try to leave either a curriculum or like a volunteer project and connect them to partners that can sustain the movement on the ground. So for us, I think, and for me as a communications professional, that's where I found my purpose in bringing people together and using media and the communications as a tool to forge partnerships and contribute to SDG 17 and indirectly or even directly at times contribute to the rest of the other sustainable development goals. I hope those information are enough. And if you have questions, just feel free to contact us at Asia TV Studios or like send me a message over chat.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Regine, for your valuable words and your sharing your experience in this digital world as a woman. So I think our participants will be really enlightened with your words. So thank you very much again. As I know you are in a remote area right now, maybe you will have to leave as soon as possible. So we will take some questions from our participants. We already see some questions coming in the chat box for you already. So I think there was a question from Ms. Rishita Gloria Rosario during your session that how can women leverage social media and other digital platforms to build their personal brand and advance their careers? And she also added that how can women ensure that they are fairly represented in the tech industry and what can be done to promote greater diversity and inclusion in this field? So, Miss, if you can share your thoughts for this. Yeah.
Can you repeat it? Because I didn't see that question on the chat.
Okay. So Ms. Rishita said that how can women leverage social media and other digital platforms to build their personal brand and advance their careers? She also added that how can women ensure that they are fairly represented in the tech industry and what can be done to promote greater diversity and inclusion in this field.
Okay, I thank you for that question. I think I did mention some of the communities that already exist for women, like for example, women in blockchain, like when we talk about Web3 or the creative industries, there's a group like an organization, and they connect through, of course, Discord and Telegram. They're on social media also, women in blockchain. You can join that group. And the thing about Web3 is, in the next generation, maybe millennials, which is my generation, but more the Gen Zs and the ones after Gen Zs, is there's a really great kind of breakdown of well, there are pros and cons to this, but breakdown of old systems and infrastructure. So there's less protocol, less kind of barriers between people. So, like for example, in the Web3 space, it was so easy for me to meet people I meet in person and become friends and business partners with people I just met online. Of course, with verification, like being careful and looking at also just doing your research, like who's who, and before trusting and meeting somebody, like the usual, the basic. But I guess, like I'm saying, is like this generation already has that gift, like that privilege of being more readily available online. And yeah, so those communities do exist, and at the same time you'll also have to more proactively create opportunities, like when they say, when the door is closed, then make a new door, or if you don't have a seat on the table, then bring a chair to that table. So if you can't find those communities, you can get into certain communities, which is very common for women from the global south. Then you create your own, or you create your own organization, pull your friends, create a movement. Like everybody's on social media, learn how to make a trend on TikTok, and eventually, like, it's so easy nowadays really to find sponsors and partners just because of your following online, or for an innovative product that you'd like to pitch for a grant, or for an investor. So I guess it starts first and foremost, like, because the tools are there and the communities are there, people are waiting for something new. But it really all starts with genuinely what's inside you, like what, as I was saying, what you can really bring to the table. It begins with what you love doing, what you're good at, and of course, and like what, and then comes after that where you're needed. But start from inside you, like what's your passion and your mission in life, and find like-minded people. And yeah, like those opportunities and tools I mentioned are already there, in terms of especially in terms of social media and online branding.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess Rishita got her answer for the question. We also have another question from our very own Father Pankaj Nokrik CSC, that what gender inequalities do you experience in digital world?
Gender inequality.
I will repeat the question again. What gender inequalities do you experience in the
Frankly, like, I'm at a point where I don't think I experience, but also I don't pay attention to the inequality, because, like, I think like a more productive kind of outlook is, no, because we know, I mean, that's a good question, because we have to be aware of what the challenges are, right? And not everybody shares the same privileges, but it starts with knowing what the problem is. But at the same time, it doesn't end there. Like, what's a more important question is, what can you do to break through it? And that's what I answered previously, like creating your own opportunities, looking for these like-minded communities, and coming up with your own personal agenda and idea, and a plan on how to get it out in the world. So it's really less a question of what the inequalities are, but of course we all know what they are. Like, there's still stigma in terms of language, like how I was mentioning a while ago the stereotypes of the buckets of where women should be like, or it's also Asian women, like what Asian women are supposed to look like, what Asian women are supposed to be doing, like how are we supposed to sound, you know, like some, because I'm also very what do you call this, like a free spirit. I change my hair all the time, so so sometimes I like I was a blondie a long time ago, and um you know, I have different looks online and also in person. So it's just a minor example of how you're judged on you do based on how you look. And I think this is something that's more prevalent among women because that's the how the old society worked. Like we're judged by our physical looks. So physical is definitely one, and uh maybe also you know, the usual like um harassment, although I don't, because I don't allow anybody to even come close to making me feel that way. But of course that exists among my peers, or like, you know, just stories from news that you hear online, you know, online harassment, violence against women still exists. It's a very important issue that needs to be addressed uh, by persons of authority. And also the last point is like kind of the nexus of identities, and it's not just about being a woman, but also its nexus with race and culture, like women from the global south and women from indigenous communities or disabled communities, and also the differences in classes and um some, we were in societies where there's still a big gap between the rich and the poor. And also accessibility to language, like there are countries where women, both men and women, have less opportunities because their level of education or command in a particular language is not as good as others. So there are all these like cross of identities that we need to consider, because at the end of the day, like because of those identities, like some women may even be more privileged than other men, right? Like depending on what country they're gonna come from. So there are all these intersections. But of course, like generally speaking, like women empowerment is crucial, which is why SDG 5 is a goal in and of in itself. But the ultimate goal after women empowerment is gender equality, which means really the equality of all human persons and of all life. So I think like that's gonna be my parting words, like how uh this is something that we should move towards. Like it doesn't end with women, but it's only kind of a an important uh an important step towards the essence of the SDGs, which is human dignity.
Okay, thank you again. Thank you for your valuable time here today with us. Even I heard that you are really busy and you have to leave as soon as possible. So maybe we can take a group photo now since you are leaving. So I would like to request all the participants to turn on their camera. We will take a group photo together now, and then maybe we can proceed to the next part of our webinar today and take the remaining questions for Miss Elizabeth and the third speaker we have with us, Miss Annika Anna. So let's take a group photo now and turn on the camera, please, everyone. And I would like to request Bartha or Helen to take the picture.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. May we request everyone to please turn on your camera, and to those who won't be able to turn on your cam, yeah, same way, please press any reaction. It can be heart, party hat, or any emoji. Yeah, we will be glad to have you in this group photo. So, Judy, Kuya John Ray, Krishna, Dr. Denny, Miss Luz, Mary, Sanita, Simon, Rosalia, Teresa. Okay, so to those who can turn on their cam, yeah. Okay, so at the count of 1, 2, 3, smile and press heart. So 1, 2, 3, smile. 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay, let's wait for others. Others are trying to turn on their cameras. Simon, one less. Okay. Okay, one last photo. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Helen, for the picture. So now I guess we can move on for the next part of our session today. Now I would like to welcome our third speaker for today, our very own Miss Annika Anna from India. She's a member of ICAF and also the member of Pax Romana Jurist Commission. She is working as a social worker for Astroy, which is an NGO working for the upliftment of the downtrodden. Miss Annika, the session is all yours.
Thank you so much, Aditya. I even saw your the presentation that you gave yesterday, and it was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the opportunity. All the speakers, the eminent and experienced speaker that just came before me, and I'm very nervous now because I'm the last one. But anyhow, we'll start. I can share the screen, right? Just a second. All right. So, digital innovation and technology for gender and equality. So my topic for today is the role of women in the digital transformation and how do we empower them. So we all know, so for the people that don't, DigitALL, this is this year's theme by UN for International Women's Day 2023, and it highlights the need for inclusive and transformative technology and digital education. So I'll be speaking about on two topics. Why do we need to talk about the women's role in the digital era now? And are there any specific ways of how do we empower them? All right, so before that, let's play an icebreaker. Would that be fine? Is everybody ready for an icebreaker? Okay. So you'll just have, it's a very, very easy one. So what we have to do is, I'll just, there will be different flags, and you have to recognize which flag is the correct flag. All right, and you have to write in the chat box. If it's A, the correct flag is A, you can write A, and if it's B, you can write B. So the person who types and in the chat box the fastest will win. So did you understand the instructions? Yes, no, I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah?
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you can continue.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we'll start. 1, 2, 3, start. right. So did you have fun with the game?
Yes.
So many different people, so many different countries, yeah. But still, we're also together thanks to digitalization in this world. I never thought I'd see Bertha's face or Helen's face or Aditya's face. And I think I'll tell that the winner was Shivanti because she was the fastest to type and chat most of the correct answers. So kudos to her, right? So let's get back to the point. So the reason that I made everybody play this icebreaker was to understand that we're from so many different cultures, but still we're able to meet together thanks to coming online platforms, and we can see each other's faces. I never thought I would learn so many things and have a second-hand experience of different people that have gone before me, right? So let's just start. Yes. So before I would, why do we need to talk about women's role in the digital era now? There are many stats and many theoretical knowledge that I sort of researched and found. But first, I would like to speak about something that happened personally. So this woman's name is Lakshmi. She's 35 years old. She's a housewife. She has 3 kids. She's illiterate. She doesn't know a single letter, how to read, how to write. And I was given the task of doing, in my NGO, I was given the task of doing an online course, which was actually offline before, but thanks to COVID, we had to go online. And there were so many women from across different states in our country. And it was so hard for me. I thought I cannot do this because to teach theoretical things to illiterate people and then to make them use Zoom was even a harder thing because I didn't know how to, I used to tell them like, this is the button. You couldn't tell them that it's written mute or it's written video on and off. Then I had to tell them, this is the button, you just touch it like this and it will open and it will close. But I realized that it would have taken me 6 to 1 year to actually make them literate. But through online courses, they could do those things in much, much shorter time and gain experience and gain so many different avenues, for their job opportunities and to have a more independent life on their own, just in the place that they are still residing in. So this Lakshmi, she passed with distinction in our course. And we have one more student. I had one more student. Her name is Manbhar Devi. She's 70 years old and she's a great grandmother. Even she is illiterate and she enrolled in our online course. In the first few classes, she used to be so scared, that, oh no, I cannot use phones. She didn't even know how to use a touch keypad phone. And I used to tell her, no, you can do it. You can use Zoom. You can do this. You can do that. And slowly she gained confidence. And anybody used to make fun of them, we used to just shut them out. And that's how even she enrolled in the course. And whatever, and they were able to pass this course even without reading and writing, because everything was visual aid and through videos and so many things. Through digitalization, we were able to help them stand on their feet. And this was their graduation function. And I've put 2 arrows. This is Lakshmi and this is Manbhar. And except the girls that are sitting in the front, all the women, most of them are illiterate. But still, because of online, because of Zoom, and because of all those digital platforms, they were able to learn so much and stand on their feet and be more confident. That is the power of digitalization, and that is the power of DigitALL. The first thing I think that happens for women is they get very fearful. How will we do this? Oh, I cannot do this. But the first thing that we have to change is the way we think, because only then we can go forward, right? So why do we need to talk about the women's role in the digital era now? Why? Because the world is online. Women constitute nearly half of the world population. Still, they have a secondary status. We all know this in society, with few opportunities for economic participation, limited access, And according to World Bank, 50% only of women that are in the working age are able to work outside in the workforce, and comparing to 80% of men. And there was a report in 2010 that says that owning a mobile phone can significantly change the life of a woman in developing countries, as it provides them improved access to educational, health, business, and employment opportunities. The data also notes that 85% of women reported feeling more independent because of their mobile phones. It further states that women business owners perceive the phone as an important productivity tool. So there's more that 70% companies have become digitalization. After the pandemic, there was more need for more people are getting digitalized, and it has opened up different big number of avenues for people individually and contribute to development. But the thing is, 25% fewer women use the internet, and in developing countries, 21% are less likely to own a smartphone, a mobile phone. The use of technology correlates with economic development. So if you think, why do we need to be digitally independent? So what I feel is, we are 50% of the population in this world. And if you really want people to grow, if you really want people to develop, for the GDP to grow, even we need to be digitalized. That is why we need to talk now, right? I think everybody knows that. That's why we are using this, we are in this webinar. Little more than 3 decades after the internet, more people are having access, more than clean water and energy. I've seen so many villages, they don't have electricity, maybe once in a week. In my country, maybe once in a week or so, but they have internet, and they can use the internet and learn so many things. And I just remember there was a pitch in Shark Tank, if you see. So there was Shark Tank in India. Do you see? There's a big platform in which different people with their startups come and pitch so that they get grants. And there was a boy, and he didn't have any, any tools, anything, but he had his smartphone, and he learned how to do tech agriculture, and that's how he got the grant. So that's what the power of digitalization can do in our lives. The places that we cannot reach physically, I could not reach to my students, but those students and I were connected because of digitalization. That is why it is so important to help people who don't have this access right now. Therefore, to say that gender equality to be possible to achieve, the women need to be made digitally literate as well. So globally, women tend to embrace digital innovations more slowly. Women involved in IT do not surpass 20% almost anywhere in the world, and they are often perceived as technophobic. Honestly, even I felt that I was very technophobic, and anything that would, a new gadget that would come in our house, I would always give to my brother or to some male. Oh no, you first do it and then I'll do. But slowly I realized that why should we be dependent on other people? Why cannot I learn? So the first thing that I had to change was the mindset. Yes, the resources are not equal to everybody. The resources are not equal to everybody, but what I believe is, as one of the Regina said, that if you don't have a seat at the table, you can bring your own chair. You can always see that what I can contribute and what I am good at. So what I realized was, if I actually just go forward and start doing and start, just putting my efforts, one day I'll be able to stand, take a chair at the seat. One day I will be equal. So what I believe, if for digitalization, is first to think that I can do it. I might not be so good right now, but if I keep doing it, I should not be, if somebody just says some negative comment just because you're not so good, you should not just hold back. Because I've seen men, and one thing that I really actually appreciate about them is that they are overconfident about many things. That even if they are not so good, they will still go, and they will go and pursue and keep pursuing till they get the job done. So what I believe women should also be like that. If especially for women, if they see there's something and they'll always feel, okay, I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not so beautiful. Maybe I'm not so qualified. I don't have the educational qualifications. I don't have this. I don't have that. But if we just try, if we just take the first step, maybe things will change, right? Therefore, to say that for gender equality to be made possible to achieve, the women need to be made digitally literate as well. Little more than 3 decades after the internet in the current sense was developed, more people have access to ICT than clean water and energy. So how does digital transformation actually empower women? In the grassroots level, if we see, by making technology accessible and comprehensible to rural women, they can be better informed about all aspects of life, transforms a common woman into a businesswoman by providing know-how and support to use their skills of cooking, weaving, stitching, pottery, all the programs that we do now that are related to the SDGs, all the many grassroots programs that are being run, they have to be digitally hitched together for them to be actually producing good results. Enhances small-scale businesses by giving easy access to resources, guiding them with knowledge and information, eliminating middlemen and the need for a physical market. Women who unwillingly discontinued their job post-maternity or for personal situations that restricted mobility can continue working from home through the online medium. The online market has enabled easy access to raw materials and customers for finished products, services, thus facilitating e-business for women. The availability of many online courses gives an option to women with limitations on mobility to further their education. There are many women in many parts of the country that don't have access to education just because they're not allowed to go out and, and because their family members are not so open. Sometimes they're very conservative that no, you will not go if it's too far. The school is too far. The college is too far. You cannot go and gain information. So because of digital transformation, now they can actually be well thought of, well known. Many mobile apps give timely information to women about health or other needs. Women can learn and share their views on various issues on social platforms. So are there any specific ways of how do we empower women? I think there are so many people who are more experienced than me in this webinar. So I would like to hear what you think, right? So before, just a second, I'll just stop the share. I'll just send the link. Yeah, and you can tell, hello, yeah. I would really request everybody to come to click on the link. You just have a link and you can tell then what are the specific ways that we can empower women. And if you can answer individually, what can I do to empower women digitally? That would be great. Did you find the link? Yes, by taking online sessions. So whatever answers you will submit, it can be seen online by everybody. So I would really request and encourage everybody to write the answers so that we can all see and enhance our knowledge. It's okay, Jyoti, you can just, you can write in the chat box and I'll enter for you. Regulations, changing government rules and regulations, training, inspiring and sharing. Believing, yes. It starts with the mind. Make a big university for women, make use of online platforms. Teaching with patience, yes, very important. If the person is not able to understand, you can always be patient. Creating digital classrooms by changing government rules, making use of online, yes. Specifically for downtrodden, yes. Changing the man attitude, yes. For women to be equal, we always talk about women empowerment, but actually I've never seen a woman who's not independent, who doesn't know how to take care of herself. Actually, what actually is needed is for the men to be educated too, that there is a need to respect women, to respect human dignity. We always try to inspire and teach women, but we should always also think about the men whom we just shut away from all the beautiful knowledge that we are sharing. Stop the cyber problems. Yes, it's a big problem. Lots of cyber harassments and cyber security is needed. Platforms for women, yes, where they can share and learn. Availing digital gadgets. Promoting, freelancing, training, asking the children help. Mothers to learn, yes, if the mothers learn, the whole, if the woman learns, the whole household learns. Anything else? I think the answers are given, and I wouldn't have been able to speak better than the people here. And how do we empower women? Is first to empower the women in our house, go to the neighbor, and then to the community, and then start with women transformation, digital transformation, and empowerment. Thank you so much. I would like to end with the biggest part of our digital transformation is changing the way we think. And I always thought I'm not good enough. I won't be ever able to, learn softwares and different things. But especially during COVID, I somehow had to, and I was forced to learn because of necessities. And that's when I realized I'm actually good at it. And when I started doing, I came at many media organizations at the national level. And that's when I realized it was not so difficult after all. I just had to try. So the glass ceiling will go away when women help other women break through that ceiling. Thank you so much and have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Annika, for your valuable words and your experience in this field. And best wishes and congratulations for your beautiful work you have been doing with your NGO or as a social work. So best wishes for that. So maybe now we can, I forgot to say one thing at the beginning of the session, that today we are very lucky to have our 3 guest speakers representing 3 different regions from all over Asia. It's South Asia, Southeast Asia, and Eastern Asia. So they shared their insights and the words from the different parts of the Asia, from different regions of our continent. So it will be very helpful for us to fulfill the objective we had from this webinar. And we also selected the theme for today's webinar. It's a general theme announced by the UN this year for the International Women's Day, which is DigitALL. Digital innovation and technology for gender equality. So thank you very much to all our 3 speakers today we had for the valuable words and the sharings. So now I guess we can proceed towards the Q&A session because we already have a lot of questions coming from our participants. Firstly, I think we had a question from Ms. Sravoni Chicham during the session of Ms. Elizabeth, that what is your experience about the stereotypes for women? And in your works and study background, did you experience that? So Ms. Elizabeth, if you can share your thoughts with this.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was very inspired by Annika Anna's presentation as well. I think it was beautiful. So yes, I think there's so many stereotypes, but I think the stereotypes depend on the person's kind of context and maybe prior belief systems and many of these isms. I believe some of the common stereotypes is one that maybe women maybe overthink too much. They're emotional. The idea on maybe them starting a family, if that's going to create issues within work. So many. I think I can list so many. But I feel like for my own journey, I believe it was a combination of gender and age. I believe there is a lot of ageism in that process as well. I started my university path very, very young. I finished I think finished high school around 15 and then started university at that age. And when I was in some work environments, it was not only the gender, but the idea that maybe you're too young to know what you're talking about or to have prior experience. And I think that is something I have encountered. And I believe there are two ways to approach it. I believe one is based on the genuineness. So some people are just genuinely maybe they don't know. So kind of from an angle of kindness and kind of being able to articulate kind of your opinions and what you think is one way to approach it, depending on that energy. But the other one is also to restate that you do have the same qualifications, the background, and what you can bring to the table. The last thing is, I think I have experienced it also with categorizing based on ethnicity. So I am from the US, but my roots are Peruvian, so I'm Latino. And I'm very proud of those roots. So sometimes I believe that people kind of put you on like, what is a Latina woman supposed to be like and what are they supposed to act? Even within Japan, there's this idea that Japanese women are more submissive and they say yes and they're passive and they're quiet. So in this context, I have to navigate kind of that idea on what women are like and be able to balance it with mine. So those are a little bit of my journey, but I think there's many ways to tackle that, and I'm happy to elaborate if there's more questions on that.
So Annika, would you like to add some of your experience with this also?
Some of the stereotypes that I have actually experienced is that women are dumb. They don't know as much as men. So many times I've heard that, oh, you don't know as much. And then because most of the time when people shush us, we just keep quiet. So the thing is, the more we speak, the more people will hear. Always the earlier generation, many times I've heard earlier generations say that women are only good to be seen and not heard. But the more the women are heard, the more the people will know. Second thing is, yes, ageism is also was a big concern for me too as well. And many times people felt that, oh, she will not know so much just because she is young. And so I started working in the NGO from class 8. And I used to teach. Even now, my oldest student is 85 years old. And so it used to be a lot of struggle first, but now as you just grow, you just get eased into it. Second thing, the problems that I faced was people don't give you as much opportunities and as much second chances as the other gender. Many times if you make mistakes, oh, this was your only chance. But the thing is, there are always second chances, maybe not in that platform, maybe some other way, some other opportunity, but you have to keep pursuing till you get where you want to be. So, and the other thing is, there is always going to be hurdles in any community, any place that you are. And I cannot expect that I would one day live in a world where there will be no some kind of problem, some kind of thing pushing us down, but the only way is forward. So once I keep that, you keep that in mind, that I have to do this and make this my mother went through so many more problems than I did, and she has made my world a much easier world for me, much more comfortable, a much more safe space for me. So what I have to contribute to this world is to make it safer for somebody else too. So that is what I would like to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a sharing from Sirani, who is from Sri Lanka. She said that in my country, many women face restrictions for using social media. Even family members or partners are emphasizing them not to post their photos. Some women activists and organizations are promoting online business for women, but lack of digital access surveys, they don't go for next level. Annika, since you are from the Indian subcontinent, so I think if you can add some comments to this sharing. Let me repeat it for you again. It was a sharing from Sirani.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lack of digital access many times in our countries, like for a normal in net, everybody does not have Wi-Fi in my country. So most of them take mobile services in their phones, and it will cost somewhere around 300 to 500 depending on the service provider that you have, which is very which is very expensive for the people who are at the lowest strata, for them to have digital access. That is very true. And other problem that can come is the area that you're working in, the area that you live in, reside in, might not have digital access. So what we can do is lots of just some women activists and organization that Sirini is talking about. You can go there and ask for maybe Wi-Fi's. The places that you have Wi-Fi, you can go there and learn. And second thing is, if I always help all those children near me which don't have digital access, that they should come in my house and they should learn, so that I can help them maybe a little better. So if Sirini can do something like that, maybe that would be the first step forward. Maybe you cannot change governments and regulations, but you can do something in your own home. Thank you.
Okay, now we have a big question from Mr. Prelude. So I'll read it out, but I'd like to request both of you to go and check the chat box so that you can understand it well. So it was from Mr. Prelude that innovation and technology for gender equality are very good topic, especially for the vision of 50-50 world by 2030. So this desire and this determination to join women and young girls in the development of the world is seen on the expense of the earth and the thanks to robotization nowadays. It is easier for everyone to do the job of their choice with great ease, but also robots have replaced men in several tasks. The truth is that artificial intelligence will never replace that of man. Otherwise, are we not afraid to remedy one pathology with another? That is to say, gender inequality through an increase in the unemployment rate. And also, where is the place of ecology in all this? Because who says technology says industrial, and who says industrial says greenhouse gases, and so on. So if you like to add something, Miss Elizabeth and Annika, with this question.
That is true that most of the things are very easy with AI now. Anything you want, some research paper or you want any presentation, you can just go online, have artificial intelligence do it for you. But the thing, and there are so many people that are being just laid off, mass layoffs that are happening across the countries, and especially in developing countries that is happening. It is a very big problem that is of concern. But what I believe is that 30-40 years back, there was no digitalization and new job opportunities were created. So it's not about how many job opportunities are going out, it's about how many more you can create as well. So there are layoffs happening, but what I believe is that more opportunities can be created for things to work. Thank you.
And I agree. I think that now I think if we look into the future, there's going to be more different types of jobs that never existed before, and technology is going to make that possible. But I do see maybe the worry around that. So I think whatever profession you're in or whatever you're interested in, I think it's good to have a kind of holistic skill set that and no machine could replace. I believe if you're able to understand from a critical perspective how different disciplines merge together and you're able to innovate, I think that's the value that's the most important to prioritize. I also believe that there is more worry about trusting technology. And I think that's a legitimate worry and one that should not go away. I think we have to often mistrust and question and not just take information blindly. So I think it's a natural habit or natural action to do that. And in terms of posting, I believe it's also important to know that whatever goes on the internet will be there forever, right? So making sure that is something that you were aware of 100% and doing your research in terms of what organization you're going to be speaking on behalf of or what platform you're going to be in, because it's kind of like your footprint, right? Your digital footprint, and being conscious of that and making sure that is reflective of your values and where you stand is very critical and something we shouldn't forget about. But technology is there to facilitate our lives, so to help projects become easier, to be able to collaborate with people much more realistically when it's not possible. So if we look at it from that angle, so that it can better our lives and kind of make it easier to navigate certain spaces, from that point of view, then I think it's something we should kind of continue to explore.
Okay, thank you. So I think that's all from the chat box. Let's give an open floor to the participants. If anyone wants to share any other questions, then you can unmute and throw out your questions to the speakers. Otherwise, we can move forward to the last part of the session.
Yeah, good evening, all of you. So it's evening here. I just wanted to share something. You know, when we were talking about, I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Am I clear?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I just wanted to share, when we were talking about that, how we can create a digital classroom for, especially in context with India. This has been actually seen as, something that we could actually go to the classrooms or, have some additional qualification, something like, something huge. But, I've seen that even a family where you have the younger children who have very easy access, the young students who have very easy access, and they of this knowledge can share it with their parents who may find it difficult. So you don't have to be digitally equipped to your family. It can start with the family itself. And yeah, of course, listening all three of you, it was amazing. Different aspects of women empowerment. So I think in India we can do that. The family training of with mutual understanding between the children, those who have easy access to this technology, because I know I myself have learned from my daughter, and I'm still learning from my 11-year-old son. So I feel like this is amazing. It is a give and take in the family itself. So for me, it was a very interesting learning process. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. One thing that I would like to add is in many of South Asian households and Asian households, there is like a hierarchy that it's the parents should know the most, and then the children should always submit, and what I say is right, sort of. No. So as obviously as the generations are evolving, there is a more holistic environment in the families, and the children can speak up. Like I'll just give you an example. Many of my students didn't know how to use Zoom, and their children who were in class 2 or 3, they actually helped them. That, Mama, you should do like this. Mama, I'll teach you how to use Zoom. But the thing is, the most important thing that happens is we should not make fun.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
We should not make fun of them. If our parents don't know, You should not make fun of them. It's like we learn from our parents and the parents should learn from us. So one thing that I have seen in many households is that they always put down women that they don't know. So it's not knowing is for a life, but knowing once can help you learn so much more. So if you just take that one step, you know, that I don't know now, I might look stupid just once, but then later I'll be the person who knows and other people can go to.
And I would add that there's so many projects already on the ground. There's so many, and it's funded by so many different organizations. So also, it's not like you don't have to recreate the wheel. You don't have to recreate a new project, but maybe finding those that exist and jumping on board. And so many projects want more people to get involved, and there's so much money and funding that have gone to this. So I think that's also something to keep an eye out. That's all.
Okay, I think Shravani has raised her hand. So this will be the last question that we will take. So Shravani, you can proceed.
Thank you, Aditya. So I have a question for Annika that isn't the culture in our Indian subcontinent, especially in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, maybe the biggest barrier for the women in digitalization?
Sorry, can you repeat what you want to ask?
Isn't the culture in our Indian subcontinent, especially in India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, maybe?
It is a barrier many times. So many women are not able, like you will, after 12th, you will not go to school. After your graduation, you will get married. And even if you are PhD or you have so many masters and double masters, triple masters, after marriage, you have to stay home and then you have to take care of the house, only then you can work. So many things that happen because of culture that are there, but unless we don't go forward, how will we grow? So the problems will always be there, but the only thing that, like I just said, my mother went through so many things, but she made sure to make it a safe space for me. So what I can contribute is that whatever I have learned, all the things that I've gone through, I can make it a safe space for another woman in my life. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Shravani got her answer. So I think we're almost running out of time. So we have to end the question and answer session today, right now here. So thank you again for your valuable words and sharing, and especially thanks to all the participants for actively participating and asking questions to our speakers. So as Miss Elizabeth said in her session that maybe the month of the women is ending today, this March is ending, but maybe this is also a start for a new occasion. And let the Women's Day just not be a one single day, but every day in our life. So at this point, I will be leaving. So I will hand it over to Bertha for her last words and the vote of thanks on behalf of IMCS Asia Pacific.
Well done. Great job, Aditya. Man, among the three amazing great guest speakers today. So I, on behalf of IMCS Asia Pacific Coordination Team, I would like to express our great gratitude and sincere thanks to the great three speakers today. We are all inspired with their speech from the beginning. Miss Ellie started with her sharing, and also continue by Miss Regine, and the last one as students, IMCS student representative, Miss Annika. And then you're sharing also with the students questions and comment, and also share, yes, they are sharing, but relate with the cultures. We are so inspired with that. So thank you very much for joining us, and then share your sharing experience and with the great words to inspiring all of the young women and men in this webinar. And once again, we want to say thank you also to all the participants to join us today. And if you would like to watch again to feel inspiring again with this great words from the guest speakers, we will upload it to YouTube so you can access it. Thank you. I over the floor back to moderator.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think it's a goodbye for today. And I think I hope that we will meet soon again in a different webinar or a different session maybe. So till then, goodbye. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Aditya. Thank you, Miss Ellie.
Thank you so
Miss
much
Annika,
for
thank
coordinating
you.
everything. Have a good
Thank you
day.
so much.
Have a good
Thank you,
day.
everyone. God bless you.